Heading into this year's NFL draft, there are a lot of QB needy NFL franchises, especially at the top of the draft order. Teams such as the Indianapolis Colts, Houston Texans, Carolina Panthers, Las Vegas Raiders, and even Tampa Bay Buccaneers are all in need of a quarterback. And the list just goes on and on. Today, we're breaking down possibly the best college player over the last 2 years, or even debatably the history, depends on what you want to call it. And his name is Bryce Young. Bryce has been electric since his early years of high school, and he attended multiple different high schools throughout his whatever career, his high school career, I guess you could call it. But he would attend 2 different schools, and no matter where he went, he was the star, and he just showed everyone else why he was just better than them. In his senior year in specific, he was so dominant that he was named the Los Angeles Times Player of the Year and California's Gatorade Player of the Year. In just his senior season, he had 4,528 yards passing and 58 touchdowns. And on top of that, he had 357 rushing yards and 10 more rushing touchdowns. I can't fathom just how incredible that is. He would wind up finishing his high school career with a whopping total of 13,250 passing yards, 152 passing touchdowns, to only 21 interceptions. He would also have nearly 1,100 rushing yards, along with another 26 rushing touchdowns. He would wind up finishing as a nearly perfect recruit for college. He would be an easy 5-star recruit with a grade of .9994 out of 1.0000. That's incredibly tough to accomplish, and only the best of the best in high school can even get comparable grades. He would be recruited to 28 massive schools such as Georgia, USC, and Alabama. Most knew he was going to commit to Alabama, but some thought USC as well. He would wind up committing to Alabama. In just his first year at Alabama, he really wouldn't rack up too many stats, but if you are curious, he had 22 pass attempts for 13 completions, just over 100 yards and 1 touchdown. But that's not really it doesn't matter, so we're just going to move on to his sophomore season. Moving on to his sophomore season, this is where he would earn the starting role and actually play. He would explode onto the scene. In his 547 pass attempts, he would complete 366 passes for a completion percentage of 66.9%. Nice. He would have 4,872 passing yards and 47 touchdowns to only 7 interceptions. He would finish with a QB rating of 167.5, which is really good. This is the part of his career where we would learn the archetype of Young. He is a pure pocket passer who also has the ability to run when he certainly feels like it. Although in the NFL landscape, especially now, short quarterbacks receive a lot of scrutiny as to whether they can make it or not at this level. Standing at just 5'10.5", he's small for a quarterback, and the only small but successful quarterbacks I can think of right off the top of my head are Russell Wilson and Drew Brees, which is a lot of who Young reminds me of. More into that comparison later though. In his final year at Bama, he really wouldn't be as amazing as his second year, but he was still really incredible. He just didn't pass as much. In just his 380 pass attempts, he would complete 245 for a completion percentage of 64.5%. He would have 3,328 yards passing and 32 touchdowns as well, but only 5 interceptions. That's astonishing work. If we were to combine his high school and college resume into one, it would go something like this. He has 232 passing touchdowns compared to his only 33 interceptions. If that doesn't tell you what kind of talent this kid has, I don't know what to tell you. What I do know what to tell you is that is a almost 7-to-1 ratio. He had over 20,000 passing yards in his 7-year high school and college career as well. Looking at Bryce Young's game, I can't help but not notice the amount of Drew Brees instincts he gives me. He just reminds me of Drew Brees so much, and I don't know what else to say about that. He has the same exact build, stature, and even height as Drew Brees. He has beautiful form and can zip the ball into tight places. The negatives about him are the arm strength, which is still in question. We can't really answer that. And obviously, his height. Height in the NFL versus college and high school are completely different realms. So far different. Height means so much more in the NFL, but only time will tell. Watching his film, one thing I'm most impressed about with Young is his decision making and honestly his inability to make a bad pass. He also has very quick reads and quick reactions. Match that with his fast release and you have yourself a beautiful quarterback. He has incredible pocket awareness with only a couple of mishaps. He has an innate ability of being able to sense pressure and being able to either step up, drop back, or even scramble if needed to. Just like Brees, he doesn't like using his legs, but he will if he has to. The only concern I have for Young at the NFL level is going to be his size and stature. But not because I don't feel like he can't make it, but more or less because I fear for his health. Small NFL players have a harder time staying healthy, it seems. So correct me if I'm wrong, but being smaller in the NFL has more drawbacks than just not being able to see over your offensive line. One thing that Young doesn't get a lot of credit for, though, is his pre-snap awareness and being able to tell you which play the defense is running. He has incredible football intelligence and can change the play as needed. One thing Young will struggle with, at least in my opinion, is the destination of which he goes to. That kind of just brings me straight to my next point. Like, if you look at Young, he was incredible in college and even high school. But if you compare like where he went to college and Alabama, they really only have 2 to 3 teams that are going to compete with Alabama every year. It's literally Alabama and then everybody else. But in the where he's going to be going in the NFL draft is just so vastly different than where he was at in Alabama. He doesn't really just get the choice to go to the best school in the NFL. He doesn't get the choice to just go to the best franchise. Heading into the NFL draft, most people have him going 1 or 2, and it doesn't really matter where he goes, whether it's going to be Houston or Carolina or Indianapolis. He's going to have a hard time if he's just thrown in there, and he's going to have very little success. From going from a winning culture in Alabama where he got to choose to go there, he's going to not be able to choose where he wants to go, and he's going to go to a situation where there's not a lot of success around him, and it's just mostly failure. If he gets just thrown in there, I feel like he's going to fail, and it's not going to be his fault by any means necessary. It's going to feel like a Josh Rosen situation where the dude never got a fair shot, but the team is just so bad. And I don't mean any of this in any single negative way, because every single NFL player is a freak of nature. But compared to the other teams, these teams just have worse skill, and that's just honest. I have an overall feeling of the same situation David Carr was thrown into. I feel with Young, if he's just thrown into the thick of it, and he's around no one that has succeeded before, could lead to the end of his career really fast. Young is coming from an extremely winning environment into a culture of a what we call poverty NFL franchise. Sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings about that, but it's true, and especially you, Scott. The Raiders are a poverty franchise. You'll get over it. Anyway, most people have him going number 1. For me, I have him here at number 2. Personally, I feel with Young, he is the most talented player in this year's draft, maybe outside of Jalen Carter, but I feel like the Panthers will be intimidated by his small stature and take a different prospect before him. I do wish the best for Young, and I think the ceiling for Young is probably a Drew Brees type caliber, but the floor is a David Carr situation.